Have you ever been in one of those subdivisions where some genius named all the streets the same name, and then they just put this different suffix on the end, so you ended up with Main Street, Main Place, Main Lane, Main Parkway, and you get in one of these things and you get so lost and confused. I have a friend that lives in one of these subdivisions, and every time I go there, I get lost. Well, the same thing is true of your Ontraport account. If you don't name things correctly, you are going to get lost. And that's what we're going to talk about today on Email Splat TV. Let's go. Well, when you first start out at Ontraport and you've got this shiny new account, it's so wonderful. You've got one campaign and 5 emails and a couple tags, and everything just makes sense. But fast forward 5 years later, and suddenly you've got a hot mess on your hands when you have hundreds of campaigns, thousands of email messages, hundreds of tags, and you can't figure out what any of it means or why you did any of it 3 years ago. And so today I'm going to share with you one of my secrets, and I probably shouldn't even be sharing this, but I'm going to anyway today because that's what the channel is for. And I'm going to share with you how I name things inside of Ontraport. And I've had so many clients tell me that this has been a game changer for them. I've had clients argue with me about naming conventions on new accounts only to come back months later, years later, and say, oh my God, thank you for setting it up that way. It makes so much sense now. I can't imagine if we had done something different. So anyway, let's jump to the whiteboard and talk about how we can name things so we don't get lost inside our own Ontraport account. Well, I have a system for naming things inside of Ontraport. So every account I'm in, I set up the names basically the same way. And let me show you how this looks. I set things up with a series of segments to the name. And I have 4 different segments. That looks like Morse code. I wonder what that says. Anyway, I have 4 different segments to this name. And here's how that breaks down. Segment number 1, I have the brand. And we're going to dig into these more in just a moment. So here you have the 4 segments that I use in most names. Some names don't have the 4th segment, but everything has at least 3. It depends on the asset. So I name everything this way, whether it is email messages, campaigns, forms, pages, tags. Everything gets named with the same basic layout, so I can always figure out what it was for and what I used it for 2 years ago, without having to go back and dig through. Now we have systems inside of Ontraport now, which has been a big improvement, so we can kind of group things together, but I still name things this way. So let's break down these 4 categories, these 4 segments of the name, and see what they are. So brand. I start out every asset with a brand prefix. And even if you're only running one brand out of your Ontraport account, I still do this because inevitably, a client will come back to me 1 year, 2 years, 3 years later and say, hey, I want to start running these other systems out of my Ontraport account. And now we don't know which is which. So I always have a brand prefix. So if I was doing my own account, it would be ES for Email Splat. Now I actually have other things running out of my Ontraport account, like my Rotary Club. So that might be ROT. I have my old brand, Only Sky Artist. So I have different brands in there. But even if I only had one, I would still put that prefix on it. Just in case I ever want to add other things, I can just do it. And then there we have it. Won't be confused. Second section is the category. And this category is kind of the function of what this is going to be for. So what function is this serving? And I have a lot of different category names, but some of the more popular ones are sales, opt-ins, broadcast, and I'm gonna write out a whole list for you here. So here we have most of the categories I use. opt-in, order, sales, promo, broadcast, logistics, nurture, report, upsell, and one I didn't put on here, checkout. So some of these I only use for certain functions, like upsell and checkout. Those are pages or forms. Would be a possible place for those. I wouldn't necessarily have an upsell or a checkout campaign because that would probably be part of a sales or a promo campaign. So my thought between the difference between sales and promo is sales is an evergreen thing. That's what's always going. It's like a sales letter, a sales page, where promo is something we're just doing for a small period of time. Sometimes I also just call this launch. So it might be launch, might be promo. Doesn't matter what you call it, just as long as you understand it. You can just take these same ideas I'm using and make it fit your own way of thinking, but these are the ones that I use all the time. Order is kind of a fulfillment, anything to do with fulfillment once we order. Logistics are things that are just kind of housekeeping in my Ontraport account that really has no client-facing value. It's just things that where my Ontraport account needs to do something. Logistics kind of has taken the place of rules for me when I'm using campaigns. I'll call a rule campaign logistics. Nurture is just a long-term nurture, and broadcast is if I'm just doing date-based emails out of a campaign, or if it's a date-based email message, that would be named broadcast. So these categories work for, again, tags, messages, tasks, pages, anything, campaigns, sequences, rules, if you've still got those. It works for anything. Then the next section is campaign. Another name for this might be product. So this is more account specific now. So I would name this after the name of a product. So like in my case, it might be IM for Integration Magic, one of my training programs. Or it might be Custom Objects, the manual, another one of my training programs. So these can mix and match now, and now I can make something specific for these programs. And then the last thing that I'll use is date or maybe number, is another, depending on where it is in my account. But date, if I'm doing a broadcast email, I might say that it's broadcast for Integration Magic, and it's going to be 2021-04-01 for April 1st, 2021. So then when I know exactly when that email message was made for that particular broadcast. Now, if it's an evergreen system where it's a drip kind of thing, then that might be number 1 or number 2. You know, what order is this going in this campaign? Is this email number 1, email number 2? This column is really only used for emails, maybe launches. If I'm doing a launch, I would have a date, you know, the month and the year, so that might just be 2021-04. You know, in April, we're doing the Integration Magic launch, and so I would have ES launch Integration Magic 2021-04, and that might be a campaign. So there, now I can mix and match all of these together to create names for just about anything in my account. Let me give you a couple more examples here. So here I've got an email message and another email message, and this might be the campaign they live in. So I've got opt-in for Integration Magic. That might need more description there. Or maybe it's a lead magnet that's completely separate. You know, I might have opt-in for naming conventions. I think I used to have an opt-in for this. So ES opt-in naming conventions, and then I would have, you know, naming conventions email number 1, email number 2, or this could just be, you know, email Integration Magic free trial, and then I've got IM trial 1 and 2. You see how that kind of works together. And then if somebody bought the product, it might be order.im. Delivery number 1. Would be how I might name that. So if they bought the product, it's ES order, Integration Magic, delivery number 1. So this would be my first email message for that. I might have and my sequence or my campaign might be esorder.im. And that just means that's my fulfillment campaign for that. So everything has a name, everything has a place. So any asset I'm looking at inside my account, I can instantly figure out what it's for and how I plan to use it. The last thing I want to share are these really cool little hacks I have, well, I'm kind of proud of, that I use inside my account all the time. And one of them I don't think is that special. One of them is ZZZ. So this I will put in front of any existing thing when I'm no longer using it. So if I'm cleaning up my account and I decide that this, this naming conventions opt-in we're not using anymore, I'll put ZZZ in front of that, and that's my signal that that's no longer used. Now I can pause it, turn it off, maybe delete it, maybe I want to keep it because of stats, but at least now I can order them by name and all that kind of goes away. That'll drop down to the bottom of my list. So if I've got a triple Z in front, that means it's no longer used. The other cool hack that I have not seen other people use is temp. So temp is another prefix I use, and temp stands for temporary. And it's just what it sounds like, temp. So if I put temp in front of something, that's my signal that I was just using that one time, one day for something that I just needed to quickly throw together, and I don't care about that anymore. I use this a lot for tags. So if I need to import a list just to quickly organize things, I might tag them all with temp 2021-04-01, and I'll know that that was a temp list that I made, that was a temporary tag I made to use on April 1st. Then if I'm in my account later and I see that that temp tag is still in there, I can delete it and know that it did nothing. It was just for that day. There's no rules associated with it, no triggers, no goals, no nothing. If I get rid of that tag, nothing's going to go wrong. So I use that temp mostly for tags, but I also do it for campaigns or forms, or maybe something, or a page, something I just needed to throw together in a hurry that was just going to be used for this one singular use for a day or 2 days, and then it was no longer necessary. I don't care about stats on it. I don't care about anything. I just need it in a hurry, and I just need something to name it so I don't get it confused with something valuable 3 months from now when it's still hanging out in my account. And I'm like, what the heck was this tag for? That's a really fast and easy way to temporarily name things and know that it's safe to get rid of it. That's pretty much my whole class, my whole ideas, all my ideas on naming conventions for your Ontraport assets. I'd love to hear how you name things. I'm always learning something about how other people name things. I see cool things out there. Oh, one last thing. People ask me, why the dots? Why do I put dots in between? I just like dots. It's easy for me. I also capitalize all the names of things inside my account. So all these are usually capitalized. I usually do it in all caps, and I usually put dots in between. Just my style. You could use dashes, you could use colons, semicolons, whatever you like. I just like the dot. It's easy for me to see, and it separates things just fine. So what do you do? How do you keep track of your assets inside of Ontraport? Love to hear it. Of course, as always, subscribe to the channel so you get more great Ontraport and automation ideas each and every week. And I will see you next time. Until then, keep on automating.